The truth is, you don't make someone miss you by trying harder. You make them miss you by becoming unforgettable. Not through games, not through silence, but by being a presence they can't replicate. If you've ever wondered why some women linger in a man's mind long after they're gone, this is why. It's not about chasing love, it's about becoming the kind of woman who doesn't need to chase at all. People don't miss perfection, they miss connection. They miss the feeling of being seen. Truly, deeply, without judgment. At the heart of every meaningful bond is a simple but powerful human need, to be understood. And when someone meets that need, even briefly, it creates a lasting impression that no physical presence or romantic gesture can replace. This is why some people linger in our minds long after they leave, because it wasn't what they did, it was how they made us feel. When you want a man to miss you, the question isn't, what should I do to get his attention? The real question is, did I make him feel known? Most people go through life wearing masks, pretending, pleasing, or performing. They get used to being only half seen, half heard, and half loved. But when someone shows up who actually listens, who sees past the surface, and reflects their truth back to them without needing to fix or impress, they feel something rare. They feel safe. To make a man miss you, be the person who offers that rare kind of presence. Not someone who's always around or always available, but someone who, when present, is fully there. The kind of presence that listens without interrupting, that hears what isn't being said, that remembers the details he forgets he shared. You become the emotional home he never knew he was looking for. Think about the people you still remember, even years later. Chances are they're not the ones who gave the most, but the ones who made you feel the most. The ones who asked the right questions, who sat with you in your vulnerability, who didn't flinch when you exposed the parts of yourself that others didn't understand. That's the power of being seen. It leaves a mark that time can't erase. Absence will echo louder than your words ever could. The irony is that the more you try to be unforgettable by doing too much, the more you blend into the noise. But when you create a moment of deep emotional resonance, you don't have to compete. He'll miss you because he'll crave that feeling again. He may not even understand why. He'll just know that when you were there, he felt more himself. And when you're gone, something feels missing. This is the kind of power that doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply is. You don't have to force a man to think about you. Make him feel understood once, and his memory will do the rest. Because being seen is addictive. And the one who sees us becomes a mirror we return to again and again, just to remember who we are. So if your goal is to be missed, start by being meaningful. Stop asking what will make him want you, and ask what will make him remember you. Don't aim to be the most beautiful, the most agreeable, or the most exciting. Be the one who noticed what others ignored. Be the one who asked, "How are you really?" and waited for the real answer. Be the one who looked him in the eye and didn't look away. That's the kind of presence a man doesn't just remember. He aches for it once it's gone. Presence is more powerful than pursuit. Because what truly captivates the human heart isn't how hard someone chases, it's how deeply they show up. We've been taught that love must be earned, that attention must be fought for, that we must do more, give more, prove more to be remembered. But the truth is, the people who leave the biggest mark aren't the loudest, the most persistent, or the most available. They're the ones who know how to be fully present, and then walk away without fear. Chasing someone creates imbalance. It signals that your worth is tied to their response, that their validation completes you. But presence is different. Presence says, I am whole and I'm here, not to win you over, but to share space with you. That kind of energy is magnetic because it's rooted in self-respect, not need. It's grounded in confidence, not desperation. When you chase, you shrink. You begin to mold yourself around someone else's availability. You adjust your pace to match their uncertainty. You silence your needs to accommodate theirs. But presence doesn't bend. It invites. It doesn't run after, it attracts. You're not chasing breadcrumbs of attention. You're standing still, grounded, allowing the right connection to gravitate toward your wholeness. When a man senses that you're pursuing him to earn something, whether it's love, commitment, or validation, he may enjoy the attention temporarily, but he won't feel the pull to come closer. That's because people don't long for those who chase them. They long for those who gave them a taste of peace, of being seen, and then let go. The more you pursue, the more he feels like the prize. Presence is the ability to be intentional with your time, energy, and words. It means when you're with him, you're really with him, aware, engaged, attuned. But when you step away, you don't leave a void of insecurity. You leave behind a memory of calm, of depth, of authenticity. And he starts to wonder where that energy went. That wondering, that's what missing someone is made of. Missing someone doesn't come from constant availability. It's born from moments that matter. When you pursue too much, you rob him of the opportunity to feel your absence. But when you show up with full presence and then return to your own life, your own joy, your own purpose, that space you leave behind becomes magnetic. He doesn't miss someone who was always there. He misses the one who gave something real and walked away with grace. The woman who is present doesn't chase because she knows who she is. The woman who gave something real and walked away with grace. The woman who is present doesn't chase because she knows who she is. She misses the one who gave something real and walked away with grace. She misses the one who gave something real and walked away with grace. The woman who is present doesn't chase because she knows who she is. She doesn't use attention to validate her worth. Her silence isn't punishment, it's sovereignty. Her stillness isn't distance, it's dignity. She trusts that if someone values her presence, they'll move toward it. And if they don't, she doesn't try to convince them, because she knows the right connection never has to be forced. So, if you want a man to miss you, stop trying to impress him. Stop overextending yourself to win his affection. Just be present. Then step back. Let your energy speak louder than your effort. Be the woman who can give presence without pursuit, who can show depth without dependency. That kind of presence lingers. It's remembered not because it demanded attention, but because it offered something rare. Stillness in a chaotic world, confidence without arrogance, and love without strings. That's what makes someone unforgettable. That's what makes someone missed. Mystery isn't about playing hard to get or manipulating someone into wanting you. It's about self-containment, about knowing that your value isn't in how much you share, but in how fully you live, even when no one is watching. The most magnetic people aren't the ones who reveal everything up front. They're the ones who know who they are, protect their inner world, and share themselves in layers, not to create confusion, but to preserve their truth. We've been conditioned to believe that love is about full access, constant texting, 24/7 updates, emotional downloads at every turn. But the truth is, when you give away all of yourself too soon, there's nothing left for someone to explore. Connection thrives on discovery, and discovery takes time, space, and pacing. When you contain yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your dreams, you're not hiding. You're honoring, you're saying, this part of me is sacred, and only those who are willing to go deeper will see it. That's not manipulation, that's integrity. Mystery, on the other hand, says, I am enough as I am. I don't need to perform or prove. I will be seen in the right time, by the right person, in the right way. One is driven by fear, the other by confidence. When a man meets a woman who doesn't rush to fill silence, who doesn't overshare to keep him interested, who leaves something to the imagination, not just physically, but emotionally. He senses something different. It's not aloofness, it's stability. He begins to realize she's not dependent on his validation to feel worthy. She doesn't hand over her story like a resume. She offers presence, but not her whole universe, because she's still living in it. Mystery invites curiosity. And curiosity is powerful. It keeps the mind turning and the heart leaning forward. When you practice self-containment, you don't disappear, you leave space. Space for him to reach. Space for him to wonder. Space for him to earn access to the deeper parts of you. And in that space, desire grows. Not because you're withholding love, but because you're honoring your own emotional boundaries. A lot of people confuse openness with availability, but you can be emotionally open and still have strong boundaries. You can be kind without being overly accessible. You can care deeply and still protect your emotional energy. And to whom? It's not about hiding your feelings. It's about not outsourcing your sense of self. When a man senses that you have a rich inner life that doesn't revolve around him, it builds respect. He knows that your world won't collapse if he pulls away. He realizes that you are a woman of substance, someone who can offer connection without becoming consumed. And that realization creates attraction that's far more lasting than anything physical. He begins to understand that knowing you is a privilege, not a right. That's what mystery does. It turns access into value. So if you want to be remembered, don't be the one who reveals everything at once. Be the one who holds her energy with care, who lets people in slowly with intention, who allows others to experience her, not consume her. That's the kind of woman who doesn't just capture attention. She captivates it, not because she's elusive, but because she's whole. It's easy to confuse attention with connection and noise with meaning. But what truly stays with someone, what lingers long after you've walked out of the room or ended the call, isn't the number of messages you sent or the volume of your presence. It's the emotional echoes you leave behind, the quiet impact of how you made someone feel. That's what memory holds on to. Not the noise of availability, but the resonance of authenticity. Emotional echoes are the subtle, powerful moments that embed themselves into the heart. It's the way you listened when he didn't know how to say what he was feeling. It's the way you laughed at his quiet joke when no one else noticed. It's the calm you brought into a space filled with tension. These are the things that don't scream for attention, but they command it all the same. They whisper into the soul and remind him of your presence long after you're gone. Most people think to be missed, they need to be loud. Post more, say more, show up more. But real connection doesn't work like that. It's not about filling up space. It's about creating a feeling so meaningful, so real, that the absence of it is felt deeply. You don't need to be around all the time to be unforgettable. You just need to make your presence matter when you are there. Emotional noise is reactive. It comes from insecurity. It's texting him when you're anxious, over-explaining when he's distant, or performing your value instead of embodying it. It's trying to be unforgettable through volume instead of impact. But noise fades. It overwhelms, and eventually it becomes background. Echoes, on the other hand, are intentional. They're created through depth, through being fully engaged in the moment, through saying things that matter and offering your attention without strings. When you create emotional echoes, you become the person who is felt, not just remembered. You don't have to post a story for him to think about you. You don't have to chase validation or drop hints about your worth. He thinks about you because you offered something rare: presence, empathy, glimpse of who you really are. And that's more powerful than anything you could manufacture. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect or always say the right thing. It means you choose to be conscious of your impact. That you realize emotional intimacy isn't built on consistency alone. It's built on the quality of the connection. It's built when you're willing to be real, to be kind, to be strong without needing control. That's what creates resonance. The most unforgettable people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who left you feeling different after being with them. Lighter, understood, inspired, safe. And it's not because they tried to impress you. It's because they were fully themselves and they made space for you to be the same. That's what stays. That's what we replay in our minds long after they're gone. So if you want a man to miss you, focus less on staying visible and more on being impactful. Ask the question no one else asks. Be present in the moment most people ignore. Speak from a place of truth, not performance. And then, let go. You don't need to chase the echo. It will carry itself. You are not remembered because you filled a space. You're remembered because you left something behind that no one else could give. That's the difference between noise and an echo. One fades, the other returns. Again and again. The most powerful way to make someone miss you is to have a life that doesn't revolve around them. When your world is full, meaningful, and self-directed, you become magnetic, not because you're hard to get, but because you're grounded in your own purpose. A relationship should never be the sun around which everything in your life orbits. It should be an addition, not the center. When you have a life bigger than the relationship, you create a dynamic where your presence is valuable, not expected, because you are not constantly available, not constantly waiting, not constantly chasing. Many people lose themselves the moment they fall in love. They let their friendships weaken, their passions fade, their routines dissolve, all in the name of being present for someone else. But here's the paradox. The more you abandon yourself for a relationship, the more invisible you become. You think you're becoming closer, but what you're really doing is erasing the very qualities that made you attractive in the first place. People aren't drawn to dependency. They're drawn to vitality, to purpose, to passion. When a man sees that you wake up with goals of your own, that your day is filled with things that light you up, that your identity isn't tied to whether he calls or texts or shows up, you become unforgettable. Not because you're trying to make a statement, but because you're living in alignment. You're showing him, without saying a word, that while love is a beautiful part of life, it isn't your entire life. This is not about playing it cool or pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely having something bigger guiding you. Maybe it's your career. Maybe it's a creative pursuit. Maybe it's your healing, your family, your spirituality, your service to others. Whatever it is, it keeps your feet on the ground. It gives you perspective. It protects you from getting lost in someone else's story. And that's what creates balance, not just in the relationship, but within yourself. People miss what feels rare. And in a world where so many people lose themselves in love, someone who keeps showing up for themselves is incredibly rare. That energy stays with people, that confidence, that independence, that commitment to your own evolution. It speaks louder than any words. It makes a man think twice before taking you for granted, because he knows your life is moving with or without him. When you make someone the center of your universe, you put pressure on them to be your everything. That pressure often drives them away, not because they don't care, but because no one can fill that role forever. But when you have your own orbit, your own ecosystem of joy and growth, being with you becomes a choice, not a burden. He'll want to be a part of it, not out of guilt or obligation, but because it inspires him. You don't need to prove your worth by how much you sacrifice or how available you are. Your worth is demonstrated by how you live, by how much joy you create for yourself, by how deeply you nurture your own becoming. That's what makes a man miss you, not because he needs you to survive, but because your presence adds something meaningful to his life. And when that presence steps back, the absence is deeply felt. So have a life that lights you up. Chase goals that have nothing to do with him. Stay connected to the people and passions that were there before the relationship. The right man won't be intimidated by your fullness. He'll be drawn to it. Because a woman with a big life doesn't beg to be remembered. She's already unforgettable. Absence on its own is just silence. It's just space. It's just distance. What makes absence powerful is the value that was there before it. People don't miss you simply because you're gone. They miss what you gave them, what they felt around you, what you represented in their life. That's the secret most people overlook. They think pulling away, going silent, or creating distance will automatically make someone chase them. But the truth is, if you didn't offer something meaningful before you disappeared, your absence won't echo. It will just be forgotten. Value is not about doing the most or being everything to someone. It's about what you uniquely bring into their world. Maybe it's your calm when everything feels chaotic. Maybe it's your insight when they're lost in their own thoughts. Maybe it's your joy, your laughter, your honesty, your presence. Whatever it is, it's something they didn't know they needed until you gave it to them. When you create that kind of emotional impact, then your absence speaks. It carries weight. It's felt, not just noticed. There's a void where something once existed. That's what triggers missing someone. It's not just that you're gone, it's that something meaningful left with you. But here's where most people go wrong. They confuse being around with being valuable. Just being in someone's life doesn't guarantee that you're being remembered. Proximity isn't connection. Volume isn't impact. You could talk every day and still not create a memory that lingers. On the flip side, a single moment of real connection, a glance, a truth spoken, a moment of real empathy can leave a lasting impression that echoes in your absence. That's why emotional presence matters more than physical presence. What kind of space do you hold when you're with someone? Are you just checking boxes, or are you actually engaging with depth? Are you performing to be liked, or are you grounded in your truth? Because the value that makes absence powerful isn't about how much you gave. It's about how real you were. Absence is not a strategy, it's a reflection. It reflects what was there before you left. If you built something meaningful, trust, connection, emotional safety, your absence will be felt. It will create a sense of longing, a pull. But if your presence was shallow or inconsistent, your absence will feel like relief or emptiness, not desire. This is especially true in relationships where people try to use space as a tool. They go no contact, stop reaching out, or pull away, hoping to spark a reaction. But here's the truth. If you weren't bringing value into their life before that space, you're not suddenly going to become valuable in your silence. Distance amplifies what already exists. It either intensifies appreciation or accelerates forgetting. So instead of focusing on how to pull away to be missed, focus on what you're offering when you're there. Make your presence real. Let it be intentional. Be the kind of person who is fully engaged, who listens with depth, who speaks with honesty, who brings calm, energy, wisdom, whatever your gift is, into the space. That's what makes someone think about you when you're gone. Not the silence, but the echo of what you brought into their world. When you understand this, you don't fear absence. You use it as space to let your value speak. You trust that you've made an impression worth remembering, not because you forced it, but because you were real. That's the kind of absence that doesn't just leave a gap, it leaves a craving. And that's what makes someone miss you. Not the silence itself, but what it reminds them of. You.